What is up, Patreon crew? So excited to have Rob on tonight's show. I honestly just want to sit down and talk to Rob for hours because there's just so much. I don't know. Like we haven't been able to catch up on everything in the last few months. I just have so many questions for Rob. But this post show is for you, Patreon supporters. So if this is your first Patreon post show, welcome. We are excited to have you. We appreciate the support. All you have to do is click the link at the top of this video and it'll take you over to the YouTube page for this live stream, which has a chat room. And that's where Kim is right now. So we'll take all live questions from this chat room as we go. Go straight to Rob. It's kind of a rapid fire situation. So we'll just ask as many as we can get to. Or do we have some?
We have lots.
And Gus, so everyone is aware, Gus is a little firecracker right now. So if he goes a little mayhem, Kim might have to stand up and I'll take over from there. But
a question from Sarah in the chat room. Sarah asked, did Rob do anything else to support recovery, anti-inflammatory diet, or supplements? Mind blown at what he accomplished a year after surgery.
Oh, so talking more about long-term recovery as opposed to recovery from the race, I think is the question.
I think, yes. From the surgery itself.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any magic potion. Thankfully, I wasn't in a whole lot of pain after my surgery, so I didn't take a single pain reliever after the surgery. I mentioned the continuous passive motion machine. That was it was a very significant and important part of their recovery, because as that cartilage is beginning to, become part of my body, that joint, that patella femur tibia fibia joint, I've heard it described as, twice as slick as an ice blade on ice. So it's this really fine surface. So that connection has to be perfect. So the CPN machine was a huge part of the recovery. And then a whole lot of patience, which might have been the most difficult part overall. And then a lot of time at Paragon doing strength and conditioning and doing my best to strengthen the quad. To keep up my cardio, I got on the treadmill on an incline hiking as soon as I could. I was also able to do battle rope, which I'm a big fan of, sitting on a chair or on the floor. I love the battle rope. It's I don't think there's anything else you can do where you're going into anaerobic capacity so quickly. And I also did some boxing, again, for that aerobic work. But yeah, little bits and pieces, any little bit. It's hard to say how much that helped in the long term in terms of my aerobic capacity, but mentally to be able to break a sweat and breathe really hard, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's boxing, battle rope, or some other crazy contraption, that goes a long way mentally and physically.
I remember you were huge in skimo. I remember we talked about that the last time you were on the show, because I was just getting into it. I finally got my first kit and have like mountains in our backyard now. For you this season, I am assuming no skiing occurred, correct?
It didn't, but maybe not for the reason you're thinking. Ski mountaineering would have been a great alternative. The motion would have been relatively healthy for my knee as long as I stayed safe on the way down. But it was one of the driest winters in history in Flagstaff, along with many, many other places across the West. So our local ski hill, even though they had snow, man-made snow, the amount of manpower and equipment on the mountain, they didn't allow any uphill access until almost March. So I really had no ski season this year, which is another interesting part. It's my first racing season, being Leadville and the 50Ks I did earlier in the year, where I didn't have that winter of ski mountaineering. And I've spoken in the past of how I feel ski mountaineering is a corner piece in this whole crazy ultra running career. So that was another, not doubt, but something in the back of my mind standing on the start line of Leadville. I was like, man, I didn't have that amazing winter of building this fantastic aerobic base. I'm so behind. How the hell am I going to run 100 miles? But I still think ski mountaineering is amazing. And if there's snow, I'll be doing it this coming winter.
Sweet. That's awesome. And this wasn't the only race that you ran this year either. I remember the Forest Park, which I think was Stumptown 50K in Portland. I know Quicksilver, obviously. It looks like
Bryce 50K.
Bryce 50K. Yeah. So you managed to get long. I'm assuming these were your long training runs.
They were, yeah, and they all really really hurt. To me, it was a way to get a almost a forced long run in with aid stations, and have the additional burden of feeling really damn bad about myself and guilty if I dropped out. So they were training runs. They hurt, but they were super valuable. In each one was sort of a step up in terms of technicality as well. So coming back from the knee injury, it was a huge confidence booster, despite how difficult they were. And each one beat me up for about a week after. But man, that was a huge part of sort of the build up and seeing the light and getting back, towing the line of Leadville in a 100-mile race.
That's cool. And Rob won all of them. Just want to make sure everyone knows that too. Sorry, let's get to some of the Patreon questions.
Question from Kimosabi75. Rob, any FKTs in the near future?
No, no plans. The Wonderland Trail is one that I've thought about for quite a while. The Tonto within the Grand Canyon is another one, but there's nothing on the calendar. FKTs are interesting. I ran the rim to rim and rim to rim to rim FKTs about 5-6 years ago. And, I loved it. It was an amazing experience. Running in the Grand Canyon has gotten a little more complicated in the last couple of years, with the popularity. And I'm sure I played a small role in that, in bringing attention to it. And I think it's great that people do it, but there's this certain amount of conflict in the canyon between the hikers and the Park Service and the runners, that hasn't been sorted out quite yet. So part of that makes me a little hesitant to tackle any FKTs on super popular routes. But who knows? I'm not sure what the future holds in terms of FKTs.
Sorry, I'll let you keep going. I'll ask what I was going to ask later.
Question from Jacob. Jacob asked, Rob, what is your most valuable lesson you have learned from your first 100 miler to your incredible win this weekend?
Probably just simply how fortunate and lucky, not just myself, but we all are to be doing what we're doing. In a way, running 100 miles is an incredibly selfish endeavor. It's not just you doing it, but it's your wife, it's your spouse, it's your family, it's your loved ones that sacrifice so much. And I think I could be doing a lot more, but I think it's important to give back in some way. And I feel part of the motivation for me of hosting running camp was to give back and share my experiences. But yeah, I've learned that I'm really dang lucky, and it's important to try and share that with other people and get them out the door, and lead by example, and hopefully make that tiny change in other people's lives.
Sweet. Go ahead.
There's a question from Nathaniel. Nathaniel asked, aside from the Leadville 100, you've won Bryce, Stumptown, Quicksilver, Cedro Peak this year. Do you consider yourself officially back?
I think, as Ethan mentioned, deep down, I don't think I was ever gone. I've always felt relatively confident, even though I had some doubt. I love being out there. I love competing. I love challenging myself. I think maybe not a misconception, but I think there's people have had the propensity to sort of flame out and burn out and overtrain. And I never once thought I did that. I've always been a smart ultra runner in terms of my training and recovery. I think I had some pretty crappy luck. One bad step cost me a year. So I knew if I was smart and patient, I had a good chance of towing the line again and being back. So yeah, I feel happy and confident that you'll be seeing more of me in the future.
I'm excited about that. And what I was going to ask earlier is, Rob, we got to come up with the movie. We got to come up with something to film, because I've been wanting to film you since day one. And now that I've got you on the show, I'm putting you on the spot. We got to do something cool.
Yeah.
He's going to say no.
Yeah.
You're going to embarrass yourself.
Man, I love it. Each year there's more and more chapters to add to this book or story or film. So, oh man, I would love to work something out.
We'll figure something out. I feel like just Leadville, I think, is a sign of things to come, and I think we can come up with something really fun and cool and unique and beautiful and inspiring. And
I
all the
agree.
good things. All the good things. Sorry, go ahead, Kim.
You've mentioned the injury as being like the one bad step or one unfortunate step. Deb Hamberlin in the chat room has a question. She says, looking back, were there any warning signs that you were on the verge of injury that you didn't pay attention to?
Yeah, hard to say. Retrospect is always so crystal clear. I mentioned I had something going on in my knee that I couldn't quite figure out. It's hard to say. Maybe a better story is back in 2015, before I was working closely with Ryan from Paragon. My massage therapist was in the same building. So for about 6 months before my big injury in 2015, Ryan was observing me walking. And one day, about 30 days before, about 4 weeks before Western States in 2015, he came up to me before I really knew him and said, "Hey, Rob, is your right glute or is your back hurting you?" And I was like, "Yeah, it is, but I'm not going to change anything. It's 4 weeks before the biggest race of my life." But that gives you an idea of how in tuned Ryan is with how the human body functions. And sure enough, I had a great race at Western, but I tried to ramp up for UTMB, and my body is incredibly good at compensating. But it caught up to me, and that ended up being a long recovery as well. So yeah, there were warning signs. I could have been more proactive. It gets into a bit of a deeper conversation about being a professional athlete, and in a way we function as independent contractors. So healthcare is a factor, and when you're a part of Obamacare or the Affordable Health Care Act, and you have these massive deductibles, how likely you are to seek treatment when you really need it, because it's going to be coming right out of your pocket paying the deductible. So it's kind of a deeper discussion, lots of layers to that. But certainly reflecting upon it, I could have been a little more proactive, but I don't think I was blindly ignoring it at the same time.
It's a conversation that Kim and I have had often, being Canadian as well, and coming from a situation where you didn't even have to think about it. Like if something was tweaked or weird or whatever, it just wasn't even, you just didn't question it. You would just go to the doctor and be like, "What's up?" And it's so different here to have that like mentality of, maybe I don't.
It's complicated.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. I think that's the best way.
Great response to that. I think that's it. It is such an honor to have Rob join us on our main show, and even to stick around a little bit for the post show. Patreon crew, if you can, of course, follow him on social media. If you don't already, definitely worth it. Instagram and all that stuff. But also show him some love. And if you have any other questions that pop up, reach out to Rob. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer. He's active and stuff like that on social media. So a big thank you to Rob. Thank you, dude, for joining us for both the show and the post show, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be talking to you. I really am.
And I like, just at the weekend you had. I'm stoked to be talking to you, because that is honestly one of the top performances in ultra running history. You are like, just in my mind, I'm like, this is just the beginning, dude. Like there's so much ahead. It's really
I hope
cool.
so.
It's really, really cool.
And just really quick, I may have missed this when I was wrangling Gus. There's people asking again about your camps that you put on. All that information is, where can they find that?
Yeah, my website is robcar.com, and there's a tab that says camps. All the information and the registration is open for our fall retreat, which runs October 4th to 8th, and there's a couple spots remaining.
Grab them.
And that coincides with the GR.
Yeah, the Patreon crew knows all about it. Go check out the previous post. If you haven't registered, go do it. Patreon crew, you have discount codes and stuff depending on your level. So just sign up. There's no excuse, because there's literally a free coupon code for everyone for the digital version. So grab it. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone. That is it. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. Thank you for taking a little bit of it to spend it with us.
Thanks, Rob.
Cool. Bye.
Thank you. See you.